The New England Patriots got their coach. Mike Vrabel is head of that organization now, and he decided we're going to revamp this defense. We're going to go out and get guys like Harold Landry from Tennessee, who he used to coach. We're going to bring in a Super Bowl champion now in Milton Williams from the Philadelphia Eagles, who's now going to be the centerpiece of that defense, as well as a former Super Bowl champion in Carlton Davis. Those veteran presences on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, they decided we need an absolute mouth smasher. Will Campbell out of the SEC, All-American from LSU, who's going to die trying to protect his quarterback and Drake Maye. He will also do that protecting TreVeyon Henderson, one of the more explosive and dynamic players out of college football the last couple of seasons. The 4-year player, fourth most rushing yards all time, like right there with Eddie George and Archie Griffin all time on the rushing ranks. Some of the all-time greats, a national champion now. Some of those players that have done it at a high level, high-quality personalities. Then you add the elements of a Stephon Diggs. Can Stephon Diggs turn it around? Well, we had the incident on the boat, whatever. They bring him in to be the number one wide receiver for Drake Maye. This is not the year they go to the Super Bowl, but it can be the year they get to the playoffs. So let's get into it. The New England Patriots 2025 season preview, as well as record predictions as we go through their schedule. Week 1, I think it's a loss against the Raiders, and they get hit in the mouth by Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers, those young, versatile weapons that Las Vegas has, 22-17. It's the home opener. I get all of that. It's just going to take a second for Drake Maye to settle in. Very much like it did last year. It was in the back half of the season, very much like this one, as we get to it, for Drake Maye to get settled in. Las Vegas, everyone talks about Max Crosby and what they have, and where I think about New England, where they need a bit more productivity, it's going to be outside of Stephon Diggs, like Kyle Williams, this kid out of Washington State. How productive can he be? But for the Raiders, shutting that down as it takes time for Maye again to connect with his other guys. Divisional game, week 2 at the Dolphins. It's a win, 24-14. They get on the board and are able to beat Miami because an ability to establish the run with TreVeyon, with Will Campbell setting the tone. Drake Maye using his athleticism a bit more so in that Miami Heat down there in Florida, more than people think that he has. This kid can move around in the pocket as well as outside of it and make all the throws, but again, use his legs when he needs to. That is what premier quarterbacks the National Football League can do. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, they can all do that. Jalen Hurts, they can all pick up a first down when they need to. Primary rod, like they can all move around. That is what the quarterback position looks like. And playing against Tua, a lot less of that ability to do so. Week 3, home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. My gosh, what a matchup. Drake Maye against the Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning quarterback, 4-time MVP, Aaron Rodgers. Again, it's at Gillette Stadium, it's at home, and you don't get the cold weather environment atmosphere. Maybe that would favor A-Rod. This is the spot where they lean, I think, for New England on that offensive line. We talked about Will Campbell, but there's Morgan Moses they brought over from the Jets who had been in Baltimore. There's Garrett Bradbury that they brought over from Minnesota. On the defensive side of the ball, like Christian Barmore, who I really like, and Jabril Peppers from New York has been trashed a whole bunch, but him and Christian Gonzalez in the back end, that can be a very good tandem, as well as Carlton Davis, more of a man guy, but Gonzalez as well as Jabril Peppers adding in an element where they're able to contain the Dolphins, and then the next week limit what DK Metcalf can do, shut him down, and make Rodgers go somewhere else, or hand the football off where some of that interior can get to work. At that point, New England's 2-1. They got the Carolina Panthers, winnable game at home. I think it's a win, 22-17. New England gets off to a 3-1 start, and my goodness, you're thinking, holy cow. Look at New England, and a lot of this has to do with schedule, like Raiders, Dolphins, Steelers, Panthers. 3-1 doesn't sound all that crazy. Like Xavier Legette, good player. Ted McMillan for Carolina, right? They lost Brian Burns in a couple of off seasons, didn't pay him, and so they've got Chuba Hubbard, very underrated player. Really like Chuba Hubbard. It's a good matchup. Two teams that are looking to make that step. But if you compare the rosters, New England's more win ready and has a better defense. The coaching, I trust. Vrabel a bit more than I do Canales. And then it's the element of getting after the passer. Uman Mielian and Scourton for Carolina compared to some guys that have been there a bit longer, like Milton Williams, been there, done that. Harold Landry getting after the quarterback, been there, done that. The experience is going to prove pivotal in that game. A win for New England, 3-1 before a Sunday night game at the Buffalo Bills, Orchard Park. Can you imagine all of the momentum going into this? Sometimes doesn't quite live up to it. Buffalo's got it still, the power in that. If they were able to pull out a win, though, New England, I'm saying it's impossible. Obviously, they could. They got to hand the ball to TreVeyon Henderson to beat Buffalo, establishing that. What have the Chiefs done? It's been these great moments from Mahomes, but it's been moments where they can stop Josh Allen at some point in the last couple of years, or give Mahomes a chance with the ball for one more shot to tie it or to take the lead or go down and get a game-winning drive. Can the Patriots do it to Josh Allen? They could, but don't see that happening in that matchup against Buffalo week 5. So they dropped to 3-2, but they bounced right back. 27-14. I've got them as the worst team in football. Do I do the New Orleans Saints next year? New England staying on track, 4-2 with a win. A lot of what I have to say of the success of New England, why I think they could be a playoff team, even more of a credit to them, is the week schedule. Of course, finishing 4th in their division. They play the number 4s of all the teams in the AFC, as well as their matchup against the NFC. More so is it the schedule impact and playing an easy schedule than even the improvements they've made. You play an easy schedule, you don't have to play as high of a level of football, plus you made some improvements, plus you got a great head coach. Certainly makes a large factor. 4-2, heading into a road game at the Titans. This could end up being the biggest heartbreaker in a long time. I do have them losing 25-26 against Vrabel's former team. Of course, the NFL has this schedule. Tennessee obviously finished last in the division. The Saints finishing last. Like, that's where you get those matchups. But Cam Ward is able to find, like Calvin Ridley in that offense. He's talked about, he's hyped up Calvin Ridley being one of his go-to targets. And the Patriots losing that, if they don't make the playoffs and they lose to Tennessee, that could be one of the bigger heartbreakers. As well as the next week, they play the Browns at home. I have them losing 18-30 after being 3-1 or 4-2. They wound up 4-4, but I credit, again, some of it to the offensive nature of the league now and how experience is just so important on that side of the football at the quarterback position specifically. Being in those moments, the Patriots weren't really in a whole lot of those tight games last year when it came down to that final drive and Maye didn't have a chance. They just were wishy-washy, where they had not a lot of opportunities and there were a good amount of blowouts. They're 4-4, home game week 9 against the Falcons. Drake Maye versus Penix. Wow. You've got these 2 first-rounders, highly touted, absolute talent from both of their. One's got that left arm, and Penix with the flick of the wrist, Maye with the longer motion, the explosive, the ball explodes out of his hand. And I got a Patriots win. 28-18, they can limit the impact of what Falcons and Atlanta do at home. They get the win because of leaning on TreVeyon. Like, Atlanta's got a pretty good secondary, but they can lean on Trey and him be that factor, rushing over for maybe 120 yards behind that newly formed Patriots offense and not having to have Drake Maye throw the ball 40 times. Remember, they will be better when they can run the football more. That is what Campbell is about. Remember who his running back used to be? The feature guy, Derrick Henry. He wants to continue to do that. You might say Trey doesn't have the frame to do it, but he certainly has the potential, the explosiveness. It's just a matter, can he hold up? He had the injury concern history at Ohio State. He's not built like Derrick Henry. He's not 6'3", 235 pounds. He's more like 5'10", 202. I'm seeing TreVeyon with the bulk of the carries is the biggest question mark, or one of them at least. 5-4 at the Bucks. It's just a tough matchup. The Bucks are so good. Trey knows how good his former teammate in Emeka Egbuka, both national champions, and Baker Mayfield is at a level where he's a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League the way he's played the last couple of years and airing the ball out and getting familiar with that system. Rewarded 2 years ago with the contract. So have a loss 29-22, just a all-round good football game. I could see it going either way, just the veteran nature. And that receiving core, that is such a tough task for Gonzalez, for Carlton Davis to cover Evans and Godwin. If these guys are healthy, that's the main thing. Because if they are, having Ibuka as your number 3 wideout, gosh, good luck. And then it's the Jets Thursday night. I do have a loss that would drop them to 5-6 on the season. Against the Jets Thursday night, 24-30. I think it's just Justin Fields being able to run around. Who's that guy? Is Christian Gonzalez? Who is that guy? Harold Landry, who can slow down Justin Fields and some of these mobile quarterbacks, keep him contained in the pocket, make him use their arm to beat you. And I have likely Maye throwing a couple picks or some turnovers in that one. Shootouts of the season. One of them, Drake Maye outlasts the next week Joe Burrow and the Bengals 42-38. One of the games of the year. If that's a moment they get to the postseason, you can point it back to that game. This is the type of game they need because the Bengals are likely going to be a fringe playoff team. The same thing with the Broncos and the Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. These are the types of wins you need against a team like Cincinnati within the conference. Just think that they can go punch for punch because they're able to run the ball, maybe hold on to the possession a little bit more than Cincinnati, just fully dropping back for Burrow to throw 52 times. Next week after that, things are trending a little bit better, 5-6. Again, it happens. It hits them. They get a loss Monday Night Football against the Giants, and that terrific front four that they have amassed, 24-26 is the score. What I believe here. Who's the quarterback? Is it Winston? Is it Russell Wilson? Don't exactly know quite yet, but we do know Malik Neighbors is on that team. If I'm saying a player here, like that, you're like isn't that guy, he's out for the year. I'm not in Los Angeles right now. I recorded this video weeks ago. When you're seeing it, I am currently in Africa, either in Tanzania or Kenya, and am having fun there. I'm going there to see the Great Migration. So this is weeks ahead of time. If there's news, it's because this video is made and scheduled to release before I had knowledge of any of that happening. So that explains why I might be mentioning some players as factors in this season when really, I just didn't know that it was happening. I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future. So that all comes into before the bye week. They're 6-7 on the year, facing a game at home against the Buffalo Bills, and they get a massive opportunity to beat the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen versus Drake Maye, of course, the big body quarterbacks. The Buffalo Bills, can they stop the run? Can they stop Henderson? It's a bit of both. 23-20. This becomes one of the larger games of the year. New England asserts themselves back into position before they face, remember, Maxwell Harrison for Buffalo, Keon Coleman on the outside. They're investing on the outside because that's been the necessary. They had their GM just tell off people on public radio because of them asking and about why they haven't addressed the wide receiver core. They go on to the AFC Championship game. They've been a very good team. Let's not talk about that as much. They continue to invest into that area of need. On the outside, they don't have Tre'Davious White, so they go with Maxwell Harrison, who can cover just about anybody. He can fly, he can cover Kyle Williams if they need him to. The next week, 7-7, I have them losing at the Ravens 30-27. The biggest thing here, again, is just it's the guy that's won 2 MVPs, Lamar Jackson. How do you stop him for 4 quarters, limit him? The main thing is you don't. You just have to keep that tourniquet on and limit the bleeding or the infection, limit how far the thing spreads, because him and Derrick Henry, best backfield in football. One of them's a great running back. The other's a prolific, spectacular thrower of the football, and they're going to, of course, have a very good defense. So Roquan Smith, he can contain Drake Maye sideline to sideline. Kyle Hamilton, he can come down because of the versatility in those players and what Baltimore can do. And then you add in Malachi Starks. They have this rotation of these 3 guys, the safeties as well as Roquan, and then you have Mike Green, who's an athlete out of Marshall on that edge outside, right up there on the ball, that form one of the most athletic middle defenses in all of football. I think that might be of what they can do to stop the Patriots and have it be a tough day running the ball, where we get to see a bit more of Drake Maye throwing it, and they dropped to 7-8, a bit of playoff hopes lost, but a huge win at the Jets, 19-17, 8-8 on the year to set up a massive opportunity the last game of the season. A win against the Jets. This time around, they can limit Justin Fields. Vrabel is not going to get beat by Justin Fields 2 times in the same year. He turns it around and is able to come up with a game plan that's more centered around stopping him, stopping Breece Hall, make Justin beat you, throwing the ball to Garrett Wilson. I know that might seem wild, but what if you're able to take Garrett Wilson away? Maybe it's a cloud, right? Guy in a hard flat, and you have coverage behind it, right? Someone in cover 2, absolutely on that side of the field. Cover 3, we have a hook curl underneath, and you're able to take away, right, an outside third, and you're able to cover Garrett Wilson, and he's almost doubled on every single play. Where do the Jets go to outside of Garrett Wilson on that offense? Like, that's a question that needs to be answered. And then, final game of the season, home against the Dolphins. They get a win, 24-21. They're able to beat Miami, go 2-0 against them on the year. This is the type of season, right? They beat the Bills, remember. They came up with the win against the Jets on the road, tight one, and then the Dolphins 24-21 because of faith in Drake Maye and the balance between him and the running back TreVeyon Henderson. They're able to do it 9-8 and maybe get themselves a spot in the playoff, getting a wild card depending on where the tiebreakers end up falling in that conference. So that is what I have for the New England Patriots. So high up on this team. Love Mike Vrabel. Biggest thing, of course, Drake Maye. We can talk about him, talk about the moves they've made with the roster, but the coach gets everything together. If they go 9-8 or 8-9, the improvements from where they were 2 years ago, with Mayo as their head coach, and drafting 3rd overall to be that close to be a fringe playoff team in just 2 seasons, and their quarterback of the future, their head coach for the long term, short down. It's going to be a fun time again to be a New England Patriot football fan. So thank you so much for watching. Had a whole bunch of fun making this. Hope you subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think of New England, if I'm sort of on the right page here, if you agree with where my head is at on New England. I think the schedule just helps them out. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it certainly is a lot of winnable games because of where they finished in that division 8 years ago. So make sure to subscribe for more content coming out in the future, and I will see you next time. Thank you.
Best player in college football.
That Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic.
Josh Blunder. Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Blunder.
To the 40, 35, 30, Espinosa to the 20.